Why does the church need theology? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Adam Jordan Clark, and today we are going to talk about the need for theology in the church. But before we do, I want to tell you about my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is a Bible study channel, and the goal for this Bible study is to basically bring people in and talk about the Bible. And what I mean by talk about the Bible is actually talk about the Bible in legitimate ways and have intellectual conversations and have theological conversations and hermeneutical conversations, and on and on and on and on it goes. Because if you've spent any time in Christianity, you know that there's a lot of crazy nonsense that goes on. You also know that there's a lot of people who stand up on the pulpit on Sunday morning and have no idea what they're talking about. You also know that, church people in general don't really know a whole lot about the Bible. So our goal here is to sort of educate people and also create a way for people to have conversations that they wouldn't normally have. So I publish a brand new video every single day on something new and interesting that not a lot of people are talking about. And the goal is to create a community of people who want to talk about some of these really, really hard, tough, complex issues because there's just not a lot of places to talk about some of these things. So that's what we do here on this YouTube channel. And if you're interested in that and you want to learn more about the Bible and Christianity and you want to get into a community where we can talk about these kinds of things, go ahead and click subscribe and hit the bell notification because we publish a brand new video every single day and you don't want to miss it. Anyways, today we're going to talk about the need for theology in the church. And this kind of sounds like a redundant point, but believe it or not, there are people out there who don't realize that there actually is no theology in the church at all. And when I say at all, I literally mean like there is no theology happening. And this is a very bizarre thing because theology is the study of God. And you're a church that believes in God and you don't study him, well, that's a problem in and of itself. But the other problem is this: Orthodox people, these evangelical people, they love to, they say, well, that's true. Yeah, there's no theology in the church, but we as evangelicals, we have theology in our churches. No, you don't. You don't have theology at all. What you have is redundant, repetitive. I'm saying what this guy said, what that guy said, what that guy said, what that guy said. You're a mockingbird. That's not theology. You're just repeating what somebody else has already said. So, yeah. And if you look closely, the only people who are really talking about theology are reformers, Calvinists, and they're pretty much evangelicals. And what do? Well, they're like, well, here's what John Calvin said. Here's what Martin Luther said. Here's what Spurgeon said. And they're just repeating what other Calvinists and reformers have already said. And then they're just saying, well, here's these beliefs that we believe, and we're going to tell you why you should believe them. So they're basically like apologetics. They're apologists for Reformed theology. They're not really even real theologians, in my opinion. They're just apologists for Reformed theology. But you know that it's a big problem when the only theologians that you have in the church, or the only people who are talking about theology, are reformers. Like, that's a big problem. This is a theology that's only been around for about 500 years, and this is the only type that we have. These are the only kinds that we have. A little bit of a problem. So when you look at the rest of the stuff, you have these other chaotic movements. You have the charismatic movement, you have the Word of Faith movement, you have the name it and claim it, the New Apostolic Reformation people, and then you have these pillar churches, and then you have the other crazy side, which is your open theist stuff, your inclusionist stuff, your mystic stuff. I mean, and it just gets even more bizarre. And the problem is that so many people go into these movements thinking that there's real theology happening, and there's not. There is no theology happening. Like, when I say theology, I don't think really anybody knows what I mean by that term, and that's okay. We'll talk about what theology is in another video. But basically, people think that there's theology in this movement. Now, in a broad sense, there might be theology, in a very, broad sense, that is. But in terms of a quality sense, no. It's probably just all nonsense. Because, first of all, in order to have a theology, what you really need is, first of all, it has to be rational. That's number one. It actually has to be rational. Theology, it's an ology, it has to be rational. So that's like number one. It has to be logical. Number two, it has to have some type of evidence, right? Because you can't have logic without evidence, okay? Most importantly, it has to have some type of systematic capabilities. And there's some other stuff that theology needs, but if you look at all of these movements that are happening in the church, what you realize is that they're not logical. They are not rational at all. I mean, basically, it's like the Looney Tunes or something. It's the loony bin people. And I'm not trying to say bad things about these people. I'm just trying to explain that they're not rational. There is no rationality in the charismatic movement or the NRA or the New Apostolic Reformation and the Word of Faith people and the mystic people and the postmodern people and the deconstruction people, and on it goes. And again, I'm not trying to say bad things about these people. What I'm trying to explain is that there really is no rationality happening. Instead, it's more reactionary. People are reacting to what's happening. They're not actually advancing anything. That's the point of theology also. It's to advance stuff. It's to read the Bible and understand God and understand what other people thought about God and advance what we already know. Like, that's one of the reasons why we do theology. But instead, what we're seeing in all of these movements, a commonality in all of these movements, is that they're reacting. Okay, the Pentecostals and Charismatics, great example. They're reacting to no gifts being in the church. They say, well, the gifts of the Holy Spirit aren't in this church, so we're reacting to that. Therefore, there needs to be gifts. The openness theology, open theism people or the inclusion people, they're saying, well, there's not this, so we're reacting to it. Well, there's not that, so we're reacting to it. And on and on and on and on the list goes. Everybody is reacting to what they're seeing. But they're actually not making theology. And so that's the real deceptive part, is that people don't know what theology is, and because they don't know what it is, they think that there's real theology happening. So what we're actually seeing in the church today is that no theology is being taught because pastors themselves are not theologians. That's the first problem. The second problem is that these pastors have no idea what theology is. They have no idea. At best, I mean, again, to go back to these modern reformers, if the best kind of theologian or the best kind of theology that you have is Reformed theology, Calvinism, you have a really big problem. Because all they're doing is reiterating what other reformers have already said. Here are the 5 points of Calvinism. You must believe it. Here's evangelical belief. You must believe it. Oh, okay, that's cool, but that's not really important. I mean, it's important for your circle. It's important for your group, for sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not important for theology. You're not advancing anything. You're not growing anything. Look, let me tell you something. When Calvinists read the Bible, when Reformers read the Bible, they have their preconceived notions, aka their Reformed beliefs, and they're just going into the Bible to find more about their Reformed beliefs. That's all they're doing. They're not actually going into the Bible to find other things. They're not trying to come up with a better version of Reformed theology. They're not trying to come up with a better version of Calvinism because they think this is all there is. Well, look, when you're a quote-unquote theologian or you're doing theology and that's all you're doing is taking what you already believe, going into the Bible and trying to reaffirm what you already believe, you're not doing theology. You're not studying God. I mean, do you understand that theology is the study of God? Could you imagine a scientist studying something and all he does is not study it? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine what that would look like? If all scientists in the entire world, all natural scientists said, well, we're not going to study this stuff anymore. Instead, we're just going to take all the stuff that we believe already and then just re-examine the evidence and then just reaffirm to ourselves what we already believe. Could you imagine that? Like, what would happen to the world? Well, all technology would cease. That's the first thing that would happen. And then we would just be at a standstill for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Kind of like what's happening in the church today. And the only thing that would happen is reaction. People would begin to react. New scientists would react. Well, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. So this is what's happening in the church. People are reacting to what they see as problems, but they're not actually creating, they're not studying. They're not studying. Theology is the study of God. What does that mean? It means you open up the Bible, you read the Bible because you're studying God. You're trying to figure out who is God. You're not reacting, you're studying, you're examining, you're trying to find evidence, you're looking for evidence, you're looking for theories, you're looking for beliefs, you're looking for developments in certain areas. You're studying, you're researching, you're actually doing research, not Googling stuff, you're actually researching. You're going back to these original languages, you're going back to Hebrew and you're going back to Greek and you're examining. Sometimes you just pick one word and you examine it and you read it and you think, well, look, the church has believed that this word has meant this for 4,000 years or 5,000 years or 2,000 years or whatever it may be. And perhaps you discover an ancient text somewhere else that's not even related to the Bible that uses the same word, the same Hebrew word, and it has a different context. And so now you've expanded that semantic range just a little bit more. And perhaps maybe by that expansion, you've just determined a new meaning for God or gods or something of that nature, or a new meaning for this or a new meaning for that. Well, that's an advancement. That's a study. That's theology. That is amazing. That's what theologians should be doing today. That's what pastors should be doing. They should be studying God. They should be critically examining the Bible and saying, we've got to find some new information here. We've got to make some advancements. Our church is dying because people don't know God. And the reason why people don't know God is because the pastor doesn't know God. The church doesn't know God. They kicked the theologians out a long time ago. They kicked the scholars out a long time ago. They don't let them back in. They don't want them back in because they get crazy and they start talking like me. My name's Adam Jordan Clark, and if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment below and tell me something very interesting or tell me a cool story or something sparked your attention. Comment that also. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification because I publish a brand new video every single day on something interesting that you need to know about the Bible. My name's Adam Jordan Clark, and as always, I will see you in the next video.